All right, let's go ahead and get started. We still have quite a few people logging in, but now would be a great time for us to go ahead and start with some housekeeping and some introductions. First, my name is Colleen Delange. I am staff with MiRealSource. I do a lot of the association and MLS training. And a little bit about my background is I've been a licensed realtor myself for over 22 years. So I'm actually going to show you some time-saving tips and techniques that actually work for me. Ways that I found I could save myself from adding a lot of keystrokes in to being able to search more efficiently for comps for my sellers when I'm telling them what their home is worth, and ways that I can more efficiently set up a buyer so that they're automatically getting homes with their matching criteria delivered right to them so they can see it first. One of the challenges I think that we're all facing right now in this market is the low inventory, not enough inventory to sell. So I want to make sure when something goes on the market that my buyer is going to be immediately seeing it and we can get into it right away. So I'm going to show you some ways that you can ensure success with that too. All right, so we've got just a couple more people logging in, but I want to give you a little housekeeping on the side. If you go to your GoToWebinar panel, which is probably minimized over to the right, that's where you're going to find a place that you can add any questions that you may have. I'm very fortunate because Brian, our Chief Technical Officer, he's going to be manning questions for me. Taylor, who is also on our staff, Taylor Fedewa, she's going to be manning questions. So if you have any questions along the way today, feel free to type them in that questions box, and then they will go ahead and address them. Don't be surprised if they actually unmute their lines and actually ask the question. So if you need to see something again, or maybe I've gone a little too fast for you, or you just have a question, feel free to use that question box. I'm also put some interactive polls that we're going to do as we go forward. So it'll be, we'll have a little fun with it. And again, you'll learn some great time-saving tips and techniques to make searching easier. All right, so I think we've got quite a few people in now. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to take my fuzzy hair off of your screen here so that you can really focus on Paragon and what we're doing today. I'm going to ask, just because we've got such a large group of people, if someone could just put in the questions box that they can hear me okay, that the sound is okay, and that you're able to see my Paragon screen, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so if someone can just let me know that they're able to see my screen and able to hear me okay, you'll find that that GoToWebinar box is probably minimized at the right-hand side of your screen. Great, thank you so much. Okay, terrific. So let's go ahead and get started. So for me as an agent, it's all about saving time. And in this low inventory market, it's all about making sure that my clients get to see homes as soon as they come on the market. And how do we do that? How do we find homes very efficiently? Well, one of the first things I want to do is point your attention to the Paragon Dashboard. Okay, so there's several different ways to search, and that's where we're going to start today. The first way to search is if you are looking for a single property. So let's say somebody just called you, they found an address they're interested in, or maybe you're on floor time and they called in, they're looking for some information. Where I want to start off is right up here at the power search. Now, by the way, if the screen that you're seeing looks slightly different than you know it, let me just explain that I am not with your association or your MLS, so mine's going to look a little bit different. I actually belong to MiRealSource, so you can see the MiRealSource Center section here. The great news is your MLS actually controls the center section, so they can put in things like upcoming news, classes like this one that we're having right now. So this center section where you see my mouse is actually controlled by your association and your MLS. But the side panels here are actually what we're going to be using, and those are going to be the same, and we're going to do some kind of cool things with those. But where we're going to start is right up here at the top. Most people don't even see this. And you can also change these. I have spring up. I really should go to the fall theme, but there's different themes you can choose from as well. But we're going to go up to this power search, and we're going to say for just a moment that you just got a call and they want some information on a property found at 12255, we'll say Volpe. When you start typing in that address right into the power search, you can see immediately that property comes up. So all I have to do is click on that property, and it's going to open up all the detail for me to see. So if you are looking to find one property fast, this power search that's right up here at the top is a quick and easy way to do just that. Now you could also use that for one MLS number. As a matter of fact, you can put up to 20 MLS numbers up there. I would not recommend doing that. But what it really does is it allows you to find an MLS number quickly. It allows you to find an address quickly. Or let's pretend for just a moment that I ran into you at a restaurant last night. You told me about this great new property that you're listing. And I know it's going on the market today. I want to get my buyers in to see it right away, but I can't remember the address that you told me. I could even go in and I could type in an agent name, and I could find the agent's inventory or even how to contact that agent. Maybe I want to see all of the agent inventory. Maybe I want to see all 10 listings here. I can click right on those 10 listings, and it's going to immediately bring them up so I can find that particular property you were telling me about. So keep in mind, this power search is great, especially if you're trying to find one property very fast. Again, if you're looking for something like 6120 Trailside, if I'm looking to find that property, I can simply start typing it in and find it very quick. So MLS number, address, or agent name, and I can find it right here using the power search. Okay, so that's your first tip. When you're trying to find something, one address very fast, that's where you want to go. The second thing that I want to do is I want to address the quick search. Now, the quick search is really not for finding just one property. It's when you're looking for maybe a couple properties. And we've done some amazing things. Actually, Brian Alford built this new field that I absolutely love. So I can't wait to show it to you. It's where you can find a bunch of addresses in one field, hit enter, and bring them all up quickly and easily. You can even copy and paste addresses into this particular field. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you is your quick search is located over on the left-hand side generally, but I am right-handed. So I like to actually move that quick search to the right side of my screen. Makes it a little bit easier for me to go through. So keep in mind, you can actually move these boxes around on your home page, on your dashboard, if you will. This allows you to have everything conveniently where you need it. Now, when you're using the quick search is really designed so if you're looking for, let's say, a 3-bedroom home in Sterling Heights, go ahead and quickly start typing that in. Maybe you've got a price range in mind. Maybe you're, just looking for a price for anywhere from $200 to $300 for your client on a basement. That's really what the quick search is designed to do. So I'm trying to find a couple properties very quickly. If you start typing in a particular field and you're not sure what's supposed to go in that field, remember right over here to the right, there's these magnifying glasses, and that will tell you, hey, what is really this field asking you for? So if you're not sure what a particular field that you have in your quick search is asking for, don't be afraid to go right over to the right-hand side and say, oh yeah, residential homes. This client isn't particularly interested in a condo, and they're looking to start at $200,000. So this is where I'm going to go in, and again, I'm going to add in that detail. Now, obviously, if they're a buyer, they're going to be looking for active homes. Yes, we want to go ahead and find them something on basement. So we're going to do basement, yes. So again, the quick search is if you're talking to someone on the phone, you just want to quickly pull up some properties. This is an easy way to do it. However, one of the things I really like that they've recently added is you now can look up your last quick searches, so it keeps kind of a running history. So let's say you started doing a search and all of a sudden the phone rings, you got distracted and you're like, oh, geez, I just put all that criteria in there. Well, now you can simply go back to the last quick search and pull it right back up. So it'll actually keep the history of the searches you've previously done in your quick search. You can also save quick searches. That is another feature that they've just added. So if you've started entering in information, you think, geez, I got a lot of buyers looking for this, 3-bedroom home in Sterling Heights, you can also go ahead and save it right from here. But now let me tell you about that favorite field that I mentioned Brian created for us. And for those of you who know Brian, he's kind of the genius behind the scenes. He builds a lot of this great integration that we see. Because what I found is, as an agent for the last 22 years, an MLS system out of the box is never easy to use. And it's actually very challenging. It's the integration that Brian has built to make these one-click options so convenient and so easy. And so one of the things that I had been asking for a long time was, if you have a buyer who just gave you 10 addresses, let's say they found on Zillow, right? I do not want to have to go in and type in each individual address, pull it up, save it somewhere. Now I want to email them to the client, then I got to put in the next address. That's really a pain. What I want to be able to do is I want to be able to pull up all of those addresses in one quick, easy step. So when I'm doing that, and I just want to make sure, I think I lost my internet connection for a second there. When I'm doing that, I want to use the full addresses field. So right where you see my, my blinking cursor here, full addresses allows you to type in an address, hit enter, and then start typing in the next address. Hit enter again, and so on. So I can type up to 30 addresses at one time. Now, maybe I know that people are calling on this, so I know it's either going to be pending or active, so I can even put the status in. I'm now narrowing it down, so I'm looking at pending or active listings. And again, I could even copy and paste these in. Now, the cool thing is, the more you keep putting in here, you just hit enter, and it's actually going to separate the addresses out for you. One of the neat things, though, that I was concerned about, and Brian always comes up with this creative ways to make these things work, but when I was first introduced to this, I thought, well, what if it's Trailside Road, or what if it's Trailside Circle, or Trailside Boulevard, whatever it happens to be? The great news is it will automatically find this for you, because behind the word Trailside, even though you don't see it, is an indivisible asterisk. And what that's doing is it's finding anything behind it, like boulevard, way, circle, or place, to make sure that you get all the results. Now, there's one other thing. Let's, for a moment, say that I know it's on Trailside, but I don't remember. Is it North Trailside? Is it East Trailside? What exactly is it? Well, you can always add. So if I wanted to find that, I could go in and add that asterisk in after the 6120, and it's going to pull up anything with a directional, meaning it's going to pull up, if it's East Trailside, even if they've just put the E in, or if they've spelled out the word East. It's a really easy way to go in and make sure that I find East Trailside. So even if they've added just the E or E period, or they've typed out the word East, because sometimes we see agents, doing things like that, this allows me to still find it in that full addresses field. So the question that I have is, have you used the full address field before? Is this something that you've played around with? If you haven't, I strongly recommend taking a moment, going in, adding in a few addresses so you're very comfortable with it. If for some reason you don't have the full addresses field in your quick search, remember, you can go right to this gear at the top. And that's kind of the cool thing about Paragon, by the way, is that you can really customize Paragon so it works best for you. So let's say for a moment you went into your quick search and you're like, what did that lady with the fuzzy hair say? What's that field again? Well, remember, you can go right back up to that gear at the top. And you can add in whatever you want to be part of your quick search. So for a moment, let me go ahead and remove full addresses because I already have it in here. But if I am looking to add full addresses to my quick search and it's not there currently, just go up to the find box, type in the word full. Immediately, you'll see full addresses pop up. Simply add it to your search. Now, it's always going to drop this at the bottom of your search, but I use this all the time. So again, when my buyer calls me and he's got 10 addresses he just found on Realtor.com or Zillow or wherever he found them, I want to make sure that I've got this way up at the top so it's easy. So keep in mind, you can drag and drop these into the order that you want. Now, why that's really so important is if you're on the phone and you've got bedrooms all the way down here and you're always having to scroll all the way down to fill that out, well, simply grab bedrooms and move it where you want it in the list. That way you're not having to scroll through all of those fields that you may not use. Okay, then simply remember to apply your changes so that they show up in your quick search, and now full addresses is right up here at the top. All right, if you joined us after we got started, remember you can actually add your questions in at any time over to the right side of your screen where your GoToWebinar panel is. You'll be able to ask questions, and Brian and Taylor are manning those. So feel free to, if you need something to see something again, or I've gone kind of fast, we're going to cover a lot today. So if you have a question about anything that we're covering today, feel free to use that questions box. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just so I know exactly where to steer our class today, to how advanced we want to go, I've actually created a quick poll. So what you're going to see on your screen here is it's just going to ask you a simple question. So you should be able to see this at this point. And the question is, how would you rate your current Paragon skill level? This is just kind of let me know as a group where you are. By the way, nobody's going to see this, so you don't have to worry. It's not going to say Joe Schmagegi says he's bad at Paragon. You're the only one who's going to know what your answer is. But I'm looking for kind of an overall where everybody is. So what I'm going to ask you to do is simply select one, just getting started. Maybe you're brand new to Paragon. Maybe you're feeling like you can do some basic searching, but you're looking for a little more training. Maybe you feel really comfortable and you feel like you know most of it, but you're just looking for some advanced tips or tricks. Or then there's the Paragon Expert. So if you can go ahead, you can select those. And it's going to kind of give us a quick idea. Again, no one's going to see your answers. Well, we'll see how many people said it, but we will not know who it is, I promise. All right, I'm gonna give about 10 more seconds. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close the poll. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and share our results here. So good, it seems like most people are comfortable with the traditional searching, but they're looking for more training. They're looking to take it up a notch. So that's perfect. So we're gonna kind of go middle of the road today. And where we're gonna go next is into a little more in-depth searching. So it seems like that's where people can search, but they're looking for just a little more help in the advanced area. So that's perfect. So where we are going to go now is into searching, our third searching option. So just to, I'm going to go ahead and reshare my screen here. I just want to make sure everybody can see that. All right, you should be able to see my screen again now. Where we're going to go next is to a little bit more in-depth searching. So we talked about the power search is where we find one property fast. Quick search, this is where we got a call, we can navigate, through, but we're looking to maybe now get a more detailed search. Maybe you have a client who has special financing needs. Maybe he is a 203K buyer and you need to be able to search for 203K buyers. Maybe your client has special needs as far as maybe he says, you know, I have to have an in-ground pool. My daughters are all in swimming lessons. Or maybe he has a home shop and he's looking for a pole barn. So this is where we can be a little bit more, we can add a little more detail and be a little more exact in our searching. And to do that, we're going to go up to searching at the top here, and you're going to see a lot of icons across here, which we're going to talk about. But we're going to click on the search one because this is where you would go to do all different kinds of searching. You can search inventory, you can search open houses, but where we're going to start today is just searching by class. So obviously, if you're looking for a single family or residential condo home, you're going to see that by search by class right here. Maybe you're looking for vacant land, or maybe you have a client who says, you know what, Colleen, I'm not sure if I want to build a new home on vacant land, or maybe I want to just find an existing home and if you get me a good enough deal. Well, that's really crossing those class lines, because it could be vacant, could be single. I don't want to set up a bunch of searches, so I can actually do a multi-class search, which will kind of cross over the lines and allow me to fill out just what that specific buyer is looking for. Today, we're going to keep it kind of run-of-the-mill. We're going to do residential or single-family home. So we're going to go ahead and click there. And now we're going to go in and just fill in some basic information. So what are they looking for? Again, you could go ahead and start typing in the information, but if you're not sure what goes in a particular field, and I'm going to be honest, some of the fields, you know, when I look at like especially the feature codes, I don't always know what those are. So it's a great idea to go right over here to the right, simply click on that magnifying glass, and you will find exactly what that field is asking for. Okay, I've added the full addresses field in here, by the way. You don't have to do that, but just like I showed you in the quick search, you can also add any field into your traditional search. This allows you to have all the fields that you may need. You can also move them around. Just before we started this webinar, I got a call today and it says, well, how do I search by acreage? So you could add acreage up here. It's actually located in your secondary criteria. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But remember, you could actually move these fields in any order that you choose so that you can go in and fill out all of the details and information in the order you choose, making it easier to find things quickly. All right, so let's go to status. Now, status, obviously, if I'm working with the buyer, I'm going to go ahead and add in actives. But maybe you want to find comps for a new listing. You can also go in and add closed properties too. The one thing I really like, and I'm just going to be honest, this is why Brian sometimes loves me and sometimes hates me. One of my favorite things is the date range dropdown, because I really am not a huge fan of the calendars in the Paragon system, because I don't want to have to click and then go back 6 months, click, click, click. I just want to find closed properties within the last 6 months. So I'm going to go ahead and use that easy to select dropdown. Now I'm just looking at stuff in the last 6 months, okay? I don't want to find leases for these comps. I just want to tell them what their home is going to sell for, so I can change the for rent to sale. And I'm going to actually jump down because I'm going to show you a way when you're looking for comps that you can actually be a little more specific. All right, so we're going to jump on down here. We're going to say that our listing appointment tonight, we want to find comps for a brick ranch. So I can go to structure style. I can say, you know what, the comps I want to find are a 1-story. Maybe I know that this home I'm going to list has 3 bedrooms. So I really want to find comparables that have 3 bedrooms. And then I see this bathrooms total. Now, let me kind of explain. This is when I'm doing a CMA, I really don't use this field as much, and I'll tell you why. Bathrooms total is basically counting, no other way to say this, but it's basically counting the total number of toilets in the home. So it's looking at all of the bathrooms together. But I recently worked with a very nice father. He was the father of 6. I don't think I would be able to handle that. But he was truly the father of 6. And he said, I have not had a hot shower in like 2 years. I need to have 2 full baths. Well, if you're working with a buyer and he says that, and you use this bathroom's total, remember, it's really counting the total number of toilets in the home. So what I do is if I am doing a thorough CMA and they have 2 full baths, or I'm working with a buyer who again has 6 daughters, you can scroll down to this secondary criteria that you see down here. And here's where I can be even more specific. I can go to the bathrooms full, and I can say, okay, he wants to see a minimum of 2 full baths. So if I select minimum of 2 full baths, now that means he's going to see 2 baths plus. So if he wants, 2.5 baths, 3 full baths, it doesn't matter. Anything with a minimum of 2 full baths is going to pop up. So if you have that buyer who says, oh my gosh, Colleen, I have 6 daughters, I really, really need 2 bathtubs, 2 full baths. Well, remember, this is a more accurate way of being able to not drag him through a bunch of bath and a halves, but to make sure I'm showing him properties with 2 full baths. This is also where you can find acreage, year built. Now, if you like these fields, I happen to live out, like Debbie, our director of education, I live out a little further in the country. And for us, acreage is a really big deal. So remember, if you are using a field quite often, don't be afraid to go up to customize and move it to your primary criteria. So you can move it up right up here in your list if that's something that you use quite often. All right, and Brian and Taylor, and I think Debbie just joined us too. If there's any questions as you're answering that you think would be great for our group, feel free to unmute your line and ask them. I think that would be really helpful. All right, so let's go back into that criteria. So now I know that this particular buyer is, or you could do it for comps as well, is looking for a home with a basement. I know he also has to have a garage. And so I'm just going through and I'm filling out that general criteria. You're thinking, oh my gosh, lady with the fuzzy hair, you've got 11,000 listings. Don't worry, we're not going to do a CMA with 11,000 listings, I promise. What we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to go into the features, because I want to talk about those for just a moment. Now, if you are working with a buyer who has very specific wants and needs, features are a great thing to add. I generally don't use features too much when I'm doing a CMA, but if I am working with a buyer, I want to use the features that are going to help that buyer get exactly what they're looking for. So features can work like this. If I want my buyer to get something immediately, but I only want them to get things, let's say, with a pool. Let's say my buyer says, Colleen, don't show me any houses without a pool. I can go down to features, and where it says must have, I can start typing in the word pool, and I can say, oh, okay, they're looking for an in-ground pool. It has to have an in-ground pool in order for my buyer to want to look at it. So this is really handy if you are setting up a saved search for a buyer and you want to basically automatically deliver these listings that have in-ground pools right to their inbox. Now, what that means is if it doesn't have in-ground pool checked on it on that listing, it's not going to go to my buyer. Now, I get this quite often. I may have a buyer who says, you know what, Colleen, I had a septic field to deal with before. I really don't want all that work. I don't want to deal with anything that has a septic. Okay, so then I'm going to go to must not have, type in the word septic. Now it's not going to deliver to his inbox, especially if I set it up with that Collab Center, which we're going to talk about. It's not going to automatically deliver anything to him with a septic field. So it's a way for me, the agent, to have a little more control over what gets sent out to my buyer. Then you have those buyers who may have specific needs, like I have a home workshop and I either have to have an oversized lot or a pole barn. So I can say it must have at least one of these features in order to go to my client. So I could type in multiple features. So it has to have, you know, let's say an oversized lot or a pole barn. I can do that as a good example. If you're not sure what features are available, here's another tip. Simply go again to that magnifying glass to the right, and it will categorize all the features for you. So if you're looking for a certain type of basement, let's say you're looking for just a finished basement, well, I can go right to the features and say must have finished basement. Other options are financing. I get this call at least once a week. You know, I have a client, they're looking for a land contract. How do I just send my buyer something for land contract? Well, that's under financial terms. So you can just check off must be a land contract. 203K, things like that. Those are all financing terms that you can check off and say must have or must not have. Another great one here is if you have a buyer who is interested in living on the water. So maybe he doesn't care if he lives on the canal, or where I am, I'm close to Harson's Island. So maybe I don't care if maybe he's looking at the island, maybe as long as he lives on a canal, or he would love lake frontage or river access for his boat. So you can actually use the water features to say it must have at least one of these. So as long as it's either on a canal, on the island, on the lakefront, or the river access, and Brian, you'll laugh, you'll see pond is here too. You'll be able to go ahead and set your buyer up with that option, and that way it's automatically delivered if it meets that buyer's criteria. Okay, so keep in mind, again, I don't use features so much for CMAs, but they're really great if you have a buyer who has certain type of financing, or maybe he has to have a fireplace. This is where you can set those things up to make it a little easier. And in this case, I'm just going to put in some little bit of square footage here just to give us a range. All right, so I've got some basic criteria that I know my buyer's looking at, but you notice the thing I didn't do, and especially if you are looking at comps, let's say that you're going on a listing appointment, you've got some basic information for that home that you're getting ready to list, but you want to do what an appraiser is going to do. So if you notice down here, this particular example that I'm using today, I stayed in the 20% square footage that most appraisers would use in this particular area. And now I am wanting to tweak it down, because an appraiser, in the example that I'm going to show you today, is going to generally stay within 1 mile of that subject property. So how can I make sure that this property is going to appraise and stay within 1 mile? That's where the searching by map comes into play. So where it says search by map here, I'm going to click on that globe. And this is going to allow me to be more exact. Now, the first thing that you're going to notice is it actually opens up to my office location. But in this case, I want to put in my listing appointment for this evening. So I'm going to put in, now I kind of use the less is best here. This is using Google Maps. So what I want to do is, this happens to be Wessel Drive, but I'm going to leave off the drives, the ways, the places. I'm going to do Wessel, comma, and then the city. Okay, now it's important to use comma in the city, because you don't want to end up in, like, you know, Florida, and you're trying to find your house and you're thinking, hey, how did that work? So you want to use the route street address, leave off the drives, the ways, the places, comma, the city, and then you want to hit that magnifying glass. Now what that's actually going to do is it's actually going to place a subject flag where that property is. But because I want to make sure that this house is going to appraise, I also want to stay within 1 mile of that subject property. So I'm going to go to where it says search radius here. I'm going to say, okay, I want to stay within 1 mile of that subject flag. So I'm going to put 1 mile in. What you're going to see happen is it's now, I'm going to zoom out a little so you can see it even better, it's now doing that 1 mile radius for me. So I can see, oh yeah, I'm starting to come back with some good comparables for my listing appointment. Now, when I first looked at this, I said, Brian, what's with all the, what's with the pop-ups and the, what's up with the, 9 and the 6 and the 2? What do these mean? Just means that those listings, when you're zoomed out, are very close to each other. So if I wanted to see all 9 of those, I could click on the cluster and I could actually go through those right over here to the left. So it's going to allow me to go ahead and it's going to allow me to see those comparables. You can even click on the MLS number and it will take you to that MLS ticket so you can see more information on it. But basically it's just telling you that they're very close. As you start to zoom in, you'll notice it starts breaking those apart. And if I just wanted to see one particular listing, I could go ahead and click on that. Go ahead and click on the 210 that's closed here so I can actually kind of zoom in and see those. Now, one of the things that I like here that I did not know was here for a long time, and so this is kind of your first tip and trick for today, is if you are doing a CMA in a particular area, you've picked your 1 mile radius, but we're going to pretend for a moment that this green area over here, we're going to pretend that this is lakefront property, okay? And so we got this little brick ranch back here, but we're going to pretend that this is lakefront property, and this 2 here, these are 2 new listings that are like $4 million listings. Now I've got a $150,000 brick ranch back here. I really don't want to include stuff that's going to really screw up my CMA or screw up my numbers. So really what I want to do is I want to exclude those from my CMA without having to go back and deselect 20 comps and have to go through them. I want to make it as easy as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the drawing tools over here to the left. And I'm going to say, you know what, anything on the lakefront here, we're going to pretend those are those $1 million listings there. I never seem to get those. I always get the $150,000 brick ranch that we're talking about. But let's pretend for a moment that those $1 million listings are really going to screw up my CMA. What I really want to do is I want to exclude that area by simply drawing a shape on a shape and then going up to edit here. I can actually change it from including that shape to excluding that shape. So again, I can actually exclude that area. Maybe I even missed it. Maybe I need to kind of change the shape a little bit. I can do that. So don't be afraid to exclude a particular area, especially if you know that it's going to mess up your CMA numbers. Another good example, I just had this a couple of months ago. I did a CMA and half of the subdivision was new construction. Freshly built, 400,000 homes, absolutely stunning. Of course, the half that I was going to were homes that were built in the 1930s and they were worth much less. Well, because of the way the subdivision, it was still in that mile, but I didn't want to include a bunch of 400,000 homes with my 1938 homes that were going to be worth less. So you can actually go up to those drawing tools. Let's do it again. Go to draw. You can pick your shape. I like the polygon. I'm kind of a fan of that one. You can literally pick your shape. Just click to create your lines. And then all you want to do is you want to go to the edit. I'm going to go to this blue box over here, and I'm going to change it from include to exclude. Now I don't have to worry about those numbers being all screwed up by those much higher price listings. Okay, any questions so far, guys? Anything that anybody wants to unmute and ask the group? No, easy peasy. All right. So again, if you have questions, feel free to jump into the question box, and Taylor, who has been helping out, and Brian, and I think Debbie's helping out, will get those answered for you. The next piece of the puzzle is, let's say you did not want to drive all the way across town to check out the neighborhood. Remember, an easy way that you and your client can kind of check out the neighborhood right from your computer or your phone is to simply go to the yellow Google man over here. It's on the right side. You can kind of see where my mouse is hovering. All you have to do, if you want to see the neighborhood without leaving the comfort of your own home, you can actually grab that little yellow Google man. And it will even tell you the address you're about to put that Google man in front of. So if I wanted to see, okay, where is he going? I can actually drop him right in front of the house, and I can see the entire neighborhood turn by turn to see what the neighborhood looks like. I can see neighbors to the left. I can see neighbors to the right. Every once in a while, you'll even see a neighbor out on the front porch. I can actually go right down the road and I can check out the entire subdivision. This subdivision happens to only be about, I think about 6 streets. So it would allow me to actually go in and see the neighborhood, talk a little bit about the homes with the client, and your client can see this as well. So when he is set up in the Collab Center or you're sending him listings, he has the option to use this on his map. So he can actually check out the neighborhood too. Right back here, now one of the changes that Paragon made in the beginning of the year was they've actually added 3 tabs. So a lot of times I would get calls and people would say, well, how do I go back and adjust my criteria? Well, now it's very simple. You can go to criteria, map search, or run search by simply clicking on the tab that you're interested in. One more thing before we leave our map though, is they've added some great layers. So for instance, if you click on, it looks like 3 pieces of paper kind of stacked up. If you wanted to know, let's say, attendance zones, or maybe you're interested in the floodplain information, you know, is this in a floodplain? You can actually click on it and it will tell you, it'll kind of layer out the floodplain. And as you can see, let me zoom in a little bit here so you can see it. There is a floodplain in this area, and you can even click the labels and descriptions and it will tell you. You can do things like maybe you want to add on attendance zones. And maybe you want to know what those attendance zones are. If you click this labeling button, it'll even show you the elementary school and its attendance zone. So a lot of people don't know it was there. I didn't know it was there for a long time. You can even do things like parcel lines. Now remember, if you're using these, the hardest thing to remember is you have to zoom in and out appropriately. So obviously parcel lines are very small. You got to zoom in quite a bit so that you can see it. Even if a property, and this is another cool thing that's been added, even if a property is not listed, but you want to take a look at it, thanks to Google Maps, you can, if they're calling and saying, well, it's not listed, but there's a parcel over there by the bank, and I was just wondering, you can actually click on that parcel and you can actually see it, see the address, and see some basic information on it. So you can do all of that right from the map. All right, so again, if we want to go back now and we want to take a look at our criteria that we've added, we can go back to criteria. We can now see, we've got about 24 comps. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to click search. And immediately that's going to bring us up to our spreadsheet. Now, of course, I would want to go through here and I would want to take a look at, you know, each one of these and do a thorough CMA. But the cool thing is right up here at the top, you can start to see the average list, the average sold. So I'm starting my CMA for my eyes as the agent right from here. So it makes it really easy to pull up that information. Just like I was showing you in the beginning, you can customize what is in your spreadsheet. Maybe I want to sort by, let's see, maybe I want to sort by sold price. I can go ahead and I can click the top column and I can sort them by sold price. I could sort them by school district. So don't be afraid to click on these column headers if you want to sort in a different order. One of the things that I like to add into, especially if you've been doing this, you know, for 20 years like I have, sometimes I like to know who has it listed or who closed the sale, who was the listing agent. I can actually go in and add the agent name. So if I'm looking to show a couple properties and I want to see who has them listed, I can do that right from my spreadsheet. So remember, you can customize anything in Paragon. That's really the unique piece of the Paragon MLS system, is if you want your spreadsheet to look in a different way, you can go to customize and choose the fields that you actually want displayed in your spreadsheet. Now, I'm going to be honest, I have really severe OCD. If you went into my linen closet, every towel is the same color. It's folded in the perfect C. It's lined up in a perfect straight row. So when I started looking at these, I was kind of like, okay, what if I just wanted to take a look at the comps that I'm actually selecting? So I'm going to say I went through, I'm doing my CMA, I'm going through, picking a few of my comps. I've selected them, but to me, this looks very confusing, right? Because I've got a lot of information here. Really, I just want to see the comps that I'm selecting. So if you go up to checked here at the top, click on it, now you only see the comps that you're choosing to work with, which I really like. The next thing is, if you're ready now to do a CMA, and we offer a couple different CMA options. Of course, you guys get Cloud CMA, which is by far, I've used 7 CMA programs as an agent. Cloud CMA by far blows them all away. And the nice thing is the easy integration points. Now, this is another thank you to Brian, because over here under actions, this is your second time-saving tip, okay? Underneath the actions, these are what I call the easy buttons. That means that anytime you want to take these listings that you just selected and you want to do something with them, well, that's where the easy button comes in. So if I want to take these and send all of these over to Cloud for my CMA, I'm going to go to Actions, Cloud CMA, and it's just that easy. So those integration pieces that Brian has worked so hard, and believe me, it's not easy. Sometimes I don't know how he doesn't pull all his hair out. Those integration pieces are really what makes Paragon so different. I've worked with many different MLSs and they get it out of the box and it's like, oh my gosh, it's really hard to use because there's not those one-click integration pieces. The nice thing about Cloud is you can literally enter the address. So we'll call this Sally Seller, enter in the address, and really that's the hardest part of your CMA. The cool thing here too is it will even pull from tax records and it'll fill out things like your square footage, bed, bath, hit fetch listings, and your CMA is pretty ready to go. So keep in mind, it's not only about Paragon, but it's about the unique integrations that we've built into Paragon to make all these things much easier. All right, so let's talk about another one of my favorite integration pieces. Actually, I jumped ahead. Let me show you one thing before I take you there. If you aren't looking for the fancy CMA, if you're not looking for the whole wow seller presentation, you just want to do a quick CMA for your brother. You don't have to impress your brother. He's already got a list with you, right? You can also go over to the reports up here. Now, your GoToWebinar panel may be covering this. So I'm just going to kind of point out that it's over on the right-hand side where you should be seeing my mouse kind of moving around fast. Over to the right-hand side, and you can move your GoToWebinar panel if it is being covered. Over to the right-hand side, you will see reports. This is where you can choose what type of report you want to send to a client and what kind of report you might want to use. But I show you this because if you're doing a CMA for your brother, maybe you don't want the fancy Cloud one, you can go right to the CMA folder, and that's where your CMA reports will be. When you're there, let's say you just want to show your brother these comps. You can click on the quick view and it will break down a real quick CMA for you with just the fields that you want. Remember, if there's a field that's not there, again, the thing about Paragon that I like the most is that you can add it. You can just simply go to customize and add that field in. Another one under the CMA reports, and I use this one if I'm just talking to another agent or I quickly want to do some buy-side comps, you can actually go to the Cma Summary. This sort of breaks it down and will just give you a summary of the properties that you picked, and it will kind of give you the breakdowns: price per square foot, average days on market, cumulative days on market, asking versus sold. So those are options that you can do right under the report. So if you don't want to build the full-on Cloud report, which I totally recommend because it's super easy, they've added some great stuff even just this last month that I'm in love with. But there are some really great options for just keeping it simple too. All right. All right, so I'm going to go back to home here. Now we are recording this. One of the questions that I generally get right about now is, Colleen, you talk very fast. How am I going to remember all of this? Well, don't worry. We're actually recording this session, which you're going to be able to go back and play as many times as you like. And everything that we're going over today has basically a flyer that will show you a lot of these integration pieces and a lot of the highlights. So Debbie Fajardo, our Director of Education, she's done an amazing job of putting together all of these, we call them cheat sheets or flyers. And if you go right up into your Paragon program under the MLS documents here, we actually have, I think, 65, I'm sorry, I lied, 62. We have 62 cheat sheets that are actually available for you to use right now. You'll see the MLS folder, you'll see education, and once you open up that education, it will have step-by-step handouts. Now, here's what I learned as an agent. When I would call for tech support or I would call another company, I generally found it very confusing because in many cases, they're sometimes in another country, they're trying to give me tech support. I don't understand what they're talking about. It becomes really difficult. The nice thing about what Debbie did here is she had the Realtor trainers take the tech support manuals or the tech support cheat sheets and rewrite them in agent speak. What I mean is when they're talking about good faith money in one place, we may be calling it an EMD or an earnest money deposit in another. So what we did is we actually took those cheat sheets that were technical and that we couldn't really understand, and we made them in Realtor speak so they're much easier. They're short, they're sweet, they're usually a page or two. Let me show you what I mean. So if you're looking to find out how to do Cloud CMA, you can go up to our search box, type in the word cloud, and it's going to show you, oh, I want to know how to add a PDF document to Cloud CMA. Very quick and easy. Debbie gave them really easy, convenient names, and it will show you step by step how to do exactly that. And as you can see, this one's 4 pages. She's got the lead gen in here and some of the other marketing pieces. You can print them. They're just basic PDFs. But if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're stuck and you need some immediate help, well, remember, you go right into Paragon. You can go right up to MLS documents, and that's where you're going to find all of those great cheat sheets. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the other integration pieces that Brian did a great job with. So I'm going to pull up one of my listings and show you that way. So really, when you're adding in the integration pieces, it's about making it simple and finding everything in one place. So Brian had this idea to create all these great quick action links that will take you right into different programs, but for this specific listing. What I mean is, if I'm looking for tax information on this listing, why should I have to leave Paragon, go into taxes, go into the BS&A record, have to put in this address, have to stop what I'm doing and do another login? If I really want to see the BS&A record for this property, all I have to do is go to this. Now, I apologize. The one thing Brian hasn't done yet is make this look like a government pillar. This is supposed to be a government pillar. I keep saying it looks a little more like a trash can when you smashed it and put it on the button, but we'll forgive you, Brian. If we could make that like a nice long government pillar, it would be even more identifiable. But if you run your mouse over it, it does say BS&A online. If you click on it, it's then going to take you to the BS&A record for that property, for that specific one. Now, the nice thing here is that I didn't have to go somewhere else. I didn't have to log in somewhere else. All the information I needed was right here. So now I can see who owns the property. I can see how many bedrooms, how many baths. I actually sold them this house 10 years ago, so it's a good one to use. I can see the frontage. I can see all the information I need to now start my homework on listing this home. Okay, so it's really the integration pieces that have made this so easy and so simple. All right, so let's go to a couple of these. The mortgage payment calculator. If you are setting your clients up, especially with the Collab Center, they want to keep their mortgage payment to $1,200 a month, well, they can go. Now, I do tell my clients that I am not a lender. You know, these are not exact totals. I don't know exactly what your, interest rate is going to end up at. These are just rough estimates. But if they click on the mortgage payment calculator, you can see it actually takes the purchase price for that house. It takes down the down payment. It does give them an average interest rate. So again, I tell them, you still want to get pre-approved. You still want to see your expert loan officer. But if you want to play around with the numbers and kind of see where you are, this is a good way to do that. Now, not only do you have that as the agent, but your client has that as well. The H is just going to be the history. That's going to tell you when the house went on the market, when the house went off the market, if there was a price reduction. Again, that's going to give you the history of the listing. Associated documents. One of the coolest things that Brian did last year for us was associated documents and the integration. And what I mean is, if you, as the agent, will remember to add your lead-based paint disclosures, your seller's disclosures, you can see I've done here. The benefit of doing that in Paragon is when agents are showing your listing. So let's pretend that you're showing my Trailside listing here. When you walk into that property and you are showing it to your client, and your client says, how old is the roof? Or have they ever had any evidence of water? I see a little water staining on the floorboards over here in the basement. So if you add your seller's disclosure and your lead-based paint to Paragon under the associated docs, the great news is when an agent is showing your home and they click on Home Snap, they can immediately view those. And why that's such a big deal is if you're standing in the property, I want to be able to tell you about the property while we're there. So if the agents put their disclosures in Paragon, they feed over to other places, like for instance, they feed over to your transactions in Transaction Desk or Instanet. They feed over to your HomeSnap app. So not only are they available in the MLS, but they actually are populated to other programs automatically for you. I can't tell you how nice it is when I go to write an offer. Let's pretend for a moment you're going to write an offer on this transaction. With one click, I can write the offer, start the transaction in Transaction Desk, but it's pulling those disclosures in too. So I don't have to go save them. When I'm ready for my clients to sign everything, not only can they sign their offer docs, but they can sign the lead-based paint disclosure and seller's disclosures at the same time. So it really is nicely integrated so that everything is all tied together to make it convenient. All right, any questions so far? This is the longest I've gone without questions. You guys are really fast at answering all these. Any questions so far? Oh, all right, moving forward. The map is simply your map view. It's going to show you exactly where that property is located. And of course, you can change it from a road map. Maybe you want the satellite view to see exactly where that listing is located. And then next to that, we've got the red button, which is Realist. We are excited because we are getting ready to release that we will have a lot more Realist information that's available for you. So you'll be able to see great reports on the property. So if I click on that red button, it's going to open up Realist for me. It's going to tell me exactly who owns this property. Now, as an agent, I love BS&A. That's one of my favorite programs, and that is the trusted record. And by the way, the BS&A that we use is to the live BS&A server. To my knowledge, and Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong, to my knowledge, we are the only MLS that in Michigan that is hooked to the live BS&A server so that they are pulling live information. What that means is if you have a closing in the afternoon and you just found out your client didn't pay property taxes, they walk into the assessor's office, they pay the tax, and the assessor marks it paid. That means that when you go in the afternoon, you're going to be able to show in the BS&A record that it's been paid. And I will tell you personally, I've actually had that happen. So the nice thing about BS&A is it's that trusted record. However, in Realist, a lot of times it will point out discrepancies or additional information. So what you're looking at, I click that little red button. One of the things that recently happened to me as an agent is BS&A said it was a one-story home. I clearly saw the picture, went into Realist, and it said 2 stories. It said MLS versus tax information was different. Well, it turns out, in fact, the homeowner had put a dormer or second level on the home, and he did not file a permit, unfortunately, with the city. So it alerted me that the MLS said 2. Unfortunately, the tax record said 1. So a lot of times it will show discrepancies like that. As I scroll down, it'll show you again the listing information, but it will also show you the sales history. It'll show you mortgages that were taken out on the property. Now, I like this because if I'm walking into someone's home and I'm going to tell them it's worth $250, and I can see, oh, geez, they got a refi last year and for $270 or whatever it happens to be, I can see that all here. So I have a little more information when I'm walking into that home to give them the price that's going to get that home closed. All right, so another addition is that red button. Again, that's going to be Realist here. So you'll find that these, right across the board, RPR is here. Cloud CMA, you can create a great property flyer or a buyer tour or a property report. So you can do all of that from here. You can obviously schedule a showing from here. You can see market stats. What are the stats for a particular area? That's a great program as well. You can write a purchase agreement right from here with one click. And there's the single property website. Now, this is one of my favorites, so let me show you that. If you click on this single property website, that is going to be a great way that you can promote your listings. Let me blow this up a little bit for you. This is a great way to promote your listings right onto social media. So this particular listing, I added a virtual tour and some drone footage too. But the nice thing is when you're promoting this out onto social media, it is only promoting you and your other listings. It still kind of amazes me. I see so many agents these days that are sharing listings from places like Zillow or other places like that. And you're basically taking your great photos, all of your hard work, all of the properties that you listed with your great comments and descriptions. You're now posting them onto social media where the person who just bought that zip code is now cashing in on your lead. So when I share them with the single property website, I'm sharing them in a way that is going to bring the lead back to me, which is really important. Again, so it's going to promote this listing and any other listings that I have. It will create, if you've added a video tour or virtual tour in Paragon, those are automatically sent over to your single property website for you. So as you can see, I think I did drone footage on this one. So automatically, that's going to now be added right to my single property website to help me promote it out onto social media. Okay, so just some really, really easy ways, again, bringing them back to me retrieving the lead and me being able to now work with that person on social media. It's very easy to share as well. Your GoToWebinar panel, unfortunately, may be covering it, but right over here to the right, if I want to share this right onto Facebook, I just hit the Facebook share button, and there's several different ways and options that you can share it. But I can go ahead and I can share it right to my business page or a page I manage, or if you have an internal office page, you can do that as well. So you can just pick the page that you actually want to share it on. So maybe I want to share it on my business page, write my description, and hit post. Then anyone who looks at it is still seeing my contact information. So remember, it's really a lot of times about the easy integration. And that's one thing that Brian has really done a great job of putting it all in one spot so it's easy for us to access. All right, we're at a good spot for questions. Guys, do we have any? I see the question light blinking, so either you're answering them all very, very fast. Is there any we want to address to the group? Nope. Yes, nope. Okay, then I'm going to keep moving
Oh,
forward.
actually,
Okay.
Colleen.
Hello, Debbie, how are you?
I'm very well. Good to see your smiling face today.
Good to see you
So,
as well.
Nancy Duffy has a question. So how do you look up the Realist info for a home that is not in the MLS?
Great question. So that we're going to go right up to the top here where it says tax. And you can go in to do a Realist search by simply going into tax. Or if the home was never listed before, by the way, in BSNA, you can actually go right up to this tax icon. So let's actually do one. We'll go into Realist. Thank you for asking the question too. I appreciate it, Nancy. It lets me know people are still out there. I miss being in front of people and kind of, getting the questions, so I know everybody's still not falling asleep on me. So, all right. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type in an address. We'll use our Wessel Drive again here. And there's different counties that you can choose from. So as you can see, I've got Monroe or Macomb County that I'm looking up here. Go ahead and apply that. And I'm going to go ahead and do my search for that particular property. This is also a really good way, Realist, if you're not familiar with it, we have whole classes on Realist. This is a great way to do labels. If you wanted to market a subdivision, you can actually draw where you want to market to, but it's very simple. As you can see here, you just type in the address, you pick the county, open up the record, and it's going to open up that nice, easy to read format that I showed you just a couple of moments ago. It'll also give you comparables. It'll give you trending market trends here. It'll show you neighborhood profiles. So there's a whole lot you can do with this, but I know a lot of people do their mailing labels right from here. And again, I like it because sometimes it'll show you differences. I always check BSNA. But I do check Realist because sometimes, and you'll see, by the way, you'll see the differences. They'll be listed, like it'll say MLS 1, tax 2, or, and it will tell you where the difference lies. And if you scroll down, again, if the property's been in foreclosure, if it had a refi on it, most of the time you'll even see refis here too, under mortgage history. And again, you'll see disclosure, lot lines, things like that. All right, thank you, Debbie, for jumping in there. I was wondering if everybody could still hear me, so I feel a little better now. All right, so to answer your question again, right up here under tax. Another thing to point out is if you're looking for a specific tool, there is the resources. Think of that as your agent toolbox, if you will. So resources is really meant to be where you can find everything you need. So if you're looking to go directly into cloud, you can find that here. If you're looking to go into showing time, you can find that here. If you're looking to go into that single property website, which by the way, you'll see under social media, market stats. Market stats is another really great tool that shows you property stats very easily. This is one that I use quite often too. I'm just going to show you my favorite feature on it. Market stats right up here where it says fast stats. It just kind of blew my mind the other day when I actually went in here and was looking at the low inventory market in some places. So last week I listed a house in Sterling Heights. So in my CMA, I like to give the homeowner a real quick idea of what's going on in their marketplace. So in fast stats right up here at the top, I simply click on the city and it was that easy. It just now created, I hate to look at these numbers right now. The inventory of homes for sale right now in Sterling Heights, down 57.1%. Oh my gosh, that's almost 60%. And I do a little bit of business there. But look what it did to our average sales price. Wow. Our average sales price from last year to this year was 226 to 244. So you're talking almost a 20 grand swing from last year to this year. How long is it taking? Average days on market. As you can see, it's taking days to sale, about 8 extra days, which you would expect. But it's really amazing when you check out these numbers. And as you can see, you can just literally click on the city and it will create this great graph. I actually save this and include it in all my Cloud CMA presentations because I can tell that seller really what's going on in their marketplace very easily. You can create also great graphs that you can post onto social media. There's so much that you can do here too. All right. So one of the other things that I wanted to show you today, your third time-saving tip and technique, has to do with when we're trying to show a lot of properties. Now, I don't know about you, but where I am right now, I cannot get buyers in the door fast enough. And unfortunately, it seems like I get to the front doorstep and they're, telling me they got 9 offers on the property, which is getting to be so common. So I wanted to schedule showings a little quicker. And one way to do that is to obviously get your clients set up in the Collab Center so that they are getting properties right away. And I'm going to move my market monitor right up to the top here because I'm going to use that for our example. The market monitor in this hot market is a crucial tool in my opinion, because I do not want to miss one single home that hit the market today. And I also don't want to go into the MLS and run the same search every day. So the market monitor is really designed to show you the market that you work and to keep you up to the minute on what's really going on. So there's a couple pieces to it. There's your part of the market monitor. So if I want to see my listings, my pendings, that's under my info. But I can also customize the market to the area that I'm watching. Now, as I mentioned before, the customizing is done where the little gear is here. And in my gear, I am watching Sterling Heights. You could actually do a county. You could do multiple cities, by the way. Maybe I'm watching Sterling Heights and Shelby Township. And maybe Washington Township. And, so I can actually design my market where I'm looking. And I want to go back maybe 3 days on average because I'm not looking every single day, but I don't want to go back 7 because then I do miss stuff in this market. So you can customize the market that you're watching. But when you now have these new listings that you're looking at, and I'm just going to click on the 34 right in my market monitor. And I'm going to say, you know what? I want to get my buyer right into a few of these. Matter of fact, maybe I want to show this one. Maybe I want to show this one. Maybe I also want to show this one and this one. Again, with me having OCD, one of the things I want to do is I now want to filter them down to just the ones I'm working with. Now, if I want to show these very quickly, and actually I'm only going to show those. There we go. I only want to show these particular properties, right? But I don't want to have to go in and schedule them one by one. Now is the time you want to set up your showing carts. So how showing carts work are right underneath the actions. Now remember, actions is what I told you is your secret easy button. So for me, I am always looking for the easy button. So actions is going to allow me to take all these active listings and put them in this nicely arranged cart so that I can send my buyer turn-by-turn directions. I can quickly and easily schedule them all in one convenient spot without having to do one property, then the next property. And gosh, when was I showing that one? How much drive time do I need without having to grab my map and try to figure it all out? So I want to go under actions and I want to go to showing time. Because the goal here is I'm going to drop them into my showing time cart. So you're going to click add to showing time cart. The first thing it's going to say, okay, well, when did you want to schedule these? So I'm going to say for tomorrow. If I was working with a real buyer, I would better get them in there today. And then it will ask you for a buyer name. Now, I'm going to be honest that when I first started trying to do this, I was like, I made up all these fake names. Matter of fact, you'll see them, Josh Magegi, Fumagali, because I was a little nervous about putting my buyer's name where anyone could see it. Well, I tested it for a long time and then finally realized I was the only one, along with my broker, who could actually see that. So I was very comfortable. Really what it's doing, and the reason it's asking you for your buyer, is because it's tracking how many homes you showed to that buyer. So Lisa, one of our trainers and staff, and she's been a realtor for even longer than I have, her record was 99 property showings. So she literally showed, I said, you're like a saint, but she was able to sit them down at like property 75 and say to them, okay, we gotta do something about our haves and wants here, because we've now showed over 70 homes and we haven't found one. So it does track how many properties you've shown them, and it keeps a history. So if something 6 months later goes on the market, and you can actually see if you showed that particular home. So it's kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and just click OK. Now, really what this is doing is it's putting them in a conveniently organized cart. So I don't have to drag out the map and say, okay, where do I start? Where do I stop? Oh, I want to come from over here. So I can click the Smart Route button, and it's now going to put them in a logical order. So as you saw, it had me kind of driving from point A over here to over here. I hit the Smart Route, and now it's actually showing me, okay, here's the suggested route you should follow to make showings really easy, because I'm trying to get them done as fast as possible. The other thing it's going to do is, if you go up here, I can now easily pick my time. So I can see there is a time block from 12 to 1 that's not available. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick my time, but how much time should I allow from appointment A to appointment B? What's the drive time? Well, it actually tells me right here to drive from appointment A to appointment B is 15 minutes in my car, and it's 6.3 miles. So I want to give myself an extra 15 minutes. If you're in the country, like Debbie, our director of education, she might need 30 minutes from point A to point B. So she wants to adjust her showing windows to accompany that drive time. So here I can see, okay, I'm going to go in and pick my time. And I'm going to say I want to show it at 10:15 to 11:45. And I'm going to go ahead now and save that one. I'm going to put in my next one. You're going to see I got my scheduled time in blue. And the nice thing is I don't have to say, okay, when was I showing that? How long is it going to take? It's all listed right here for me. One of the other things, and I just grabbed some that didn't include this, so I apologize, it will show you if it's a go and show, meaning that you're going to immediately get the confirmation. A lot of times those are vacant. And so if I need a little wiggle room, if I'm not sure if we're going to be running late after we see these couple, I can go in and adjust my appointments that way. Now, unfortunately, I always seem to get the crazy buyers. I don't know, it's got to be the crazy hair I have. I seem to attract the kind of crazy, high maintenance buyers. And unfortunately, I get that buyer who I get the tour all set up. I click send request, everything gets confirmed, and then I'm walking out the door and they say, Colleen, we found 2 more listings we want to see, right as I'm walking out the door. So keep in mind, you can add other listings by clicking add listings. Or if you're taking them to lunch, maybe they're out of town buyers, you want to put a lunch restaurant address in here. You can actually create turn-by-turn directions, which can now be forwarded right over to your buyer. So you can add additional listings even after you've created the cart, and you can send all the requests from one easy location from right here. Okay, so that is your third time-saving tip and technique. The last thing I want to show you before we wrap up today is I want to show you the Collab Center. There still seems to be a lot of people who have questions about the Collab Center, and I want to kind of show you what it is, and then you can decide if that would be right for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to contacts. The thing I like about the Collab Center is it's kind of like a set it and forget it, if you will. Once you get your client's search set up, really it's just now turning on the Collab Center and saying, okay, great news, you're going to now get every house that meets that criteria. But as I mentioned, there's also some unique things you can do in the Collab Center. As I mentioned, I get the crazy buyers. I had a buyer who, I kid you not, she actually called me very upset that she had received multiple listings that had yellow siding. Now, I was unaware that she didn't like yellow siding, first of all. So, and there's no button in the MLS that says, hey, no yellow siding. There's no required field for that. So what I decided is she was going to need a little more hand-holding. So there's also ways in the Collab Center where you can set it up to do agent preview. meaning it comes to you as the agent. You look it over, and if you think it's something good for that client, you can go ahead basically and say, yep, the client's going to get that one, check it off, and now it goes over to that client. So there's some really cool things that you can do in the Collab Center. So let's actually take a look. We're going to go into contacts. What I like is I don't have anywhere else to go. I go right into my contacts and I can see everything. Again, that integration, making it so easy. So I am going to go to view or manage my contacts. And I'm going to see everybody that I've set up with the Collab Center. So I can see Eddie Rusk. I set him up last week or 2 weeks ago, and it will tell me when you add them, when they last accessed it, when they were last notified, what they favorite, what they reject. So I can see all of that. Now, the idea these days is to keep it simple for the client and make it simple for the agent while staying in great communication. So I can not only see everything that's going on with that client, but I can see their actual site. So if I click on, I'm going to show you, and we want it to be easy for them, right? Because let's face it, if we dumped our clients into a Paragon, a system we know as agents, they would not be able to use that. It's very, it's got a lot of fields they wouldn't recognize. So it needs to be easy. It needs to be easy for them to navigate and have an easy look. And that's what this does. So when I click on his site, I can see everything that he's favorited. I can see new things that he may want to look at. So automatically these listings are coming right to him. And when he clicks on them, he can now get all the detail. He can easily favorite it and say, yep, that's one of my listings that I want to see. I also encourage you to ask them to favorite, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. But you can also go in and view the detail. So I can see how many beds, baths, I can see all the MLS detail. There's a nice little outline so they can see the photos. Again, they can walk down the street using the map view that I showed you. They can even request the time that they want to see it. Now that does not go to showing time, by the way. That just goes to you, the agent, via email so that you know, oh, they'd like to see it at 3 o'clock. Saves me from having to make the call. Down here, I can see all the details. They can even now see the associated docs. So they can see the seller's disclosure and lead-based paint on their own. So as I mentioned, the benefits of putting your lead-based paint and your seller's disclosure in associated docs within Paragon is huge because it carries over to HomeSnap, carries over to the associated docs in your Collab Center, and it also carries over to your transactions if you're using Transaction Desk and Instanet. So huge benefits. I actually have started putting all of my condo bylaws and the rules and regs for condos. If you have bank addendums, I put all of those in here. That way it's really easy for the agents and the clients. If the client wants to know, can I have 2 dogs? Well, great, the bylaws are right there for them to view. It really makes it much simpler. Okay, so I'm a big fan of the Collab Center. It's come a long way. If you haven't used it recently, I would recommend checking it out. Now, again, like anything, it's always changing. They're always adding new technology to it. Again, here you have that Google Street View, but really, really easy for the clients to navigate. So let's take a look at how the Collab Center gets set up, and that will be our last time saving tip for today. So we're going to go over to Paragon here, and really the hardest part of this is setting up your search. So I'm going to go up to search. I'm going to pick the type of search that I'm going to do. So I'm going to do a single family or residential condo. And I've actually saved one. Now you can do last search. So if I wanted to go back to the search that we did a little earlier today, I can do a last search, or I can load a search that I've previously saved. So if I do a load search, maybe I want to load a search that I created before. Actually, I think I'll do my last search because I put some good stuff in there. So we'll do this one. Okay, so now we've got our search set up. Again, you can quickly save searches from here, really, really easy, but we want to save our search as. And so here's where I would go in and I would create my search name. So I'm going to call this the Lisa Horvath search. Okay. Now, the hardest part of this is, what do you want to do with the search? Well, I want to now marry the search to the contact. Now, I don't have Lisa Horvath set up in here yet, so I'm going to go to add a new contact. So I'm going to add in her information. And where do I want her to get notified of these new findings? So I want to go ahead and I'm going to say I'm going to send this to I'm just going to add mine in here because it'll save Lisa from getting like 1,000 emails today. Okay, so I've got the email address in here. I've got the client name. I'm going to go ahead and now save that contact. The hardest part of the Collab Center is simply doing the save and notify. So I've saved the search with the criteria for the client. I've added the client's contact information, and now I want to turn on the Collab Center. So I go to automatic notifications. Do I want them just to go to via email? No, I actually want them to have a site where they can go in and they can favorite things that they like. Send that welcome message out. You can even get so specific as to sending the notifications at a certain time on a certain day. So you can go into settings and set your notifications. So if you're working with an investor who's looking at a large area, he doesn't get bombarded with emails. He can get them maybe every Monday morning at 9 a.m. And I can literally now send the welcome message so that they can go ahead and get started in the Collab Center. You can modify this at any time, but it really makes it very simple and easy for them to go in and favorite the listings that they like. So I'm just going to show you one more time why that's so important. So I'm going to go back to view and manage contacts here. The reason that I want my clients to favorite things is, as you can see, Eddie Rusk has 2 favorited listings. If I click on those 2, it now opens directly into my spreadsheet. I simply check them off, and guess what? There's that hidden easy button right under actions. I'm sending these to showing time, and now I'm setting up my showing cart. So again, if you can get your clients to use the Collab Center, the benefit over them using places like Zillow and other places is the Collab Center is the live MLS database. I tell my clients it's the same exact thing that the agents use. A lot of times they're calling me with Zillow information that's been closed for 3 months or 6 months. I say, why are you using that when you could use the same tool that we use, the actual MLS that will show you up to the minute information? So then I drop them right into the showing cart and we're ready to schedule our appointments. Okay, so I know I've taken you on a long tour today, and I've showed you a lot of information, and I appreciate your patience as we've kind of bounced around. Hopefully you found this helpful. Right now is kind of your last chance to ask any questions. If you have some questions, put them in the questions box. We'll go ahead and address them. We are recording this, so I am actually going to send this out to your staff. They will post the link. You can also find this at our YouTube channel, which is MiRealSource Media. If you're there, subscribe. It'll keep you up to date on all the things that we're releasing. But if you go to MiRealSource Media, that's our YouTube channel, it will actually allow you to click this. You can watch it as many times as you like. And I will also be sending it over to your board staff too, so that they can post it over to Shannon and Jessica and Lisa, so that they will have access. And not sure exactly where they're going to post it yet, but they will let you know where that link is. Remember, in addition to that, there's the MLS documents right up here at the top. And before we wrap up, do we have any questions? Debbie, Taylor, Brian, anybody have any questions that we want to address?
We are looking good. Oh, Nancy just popped in with another question. Where do you find the history of a listing? Oh, that you forwarded to via email to your clients. That is a great hidden gem right there.
That is good. Let me go back into context. You have asked some very good questions, Nancy. I appreciate it. It makes this worthwhile when people are asking questions. That they're hearing you. You can actually see. I opened up the contact for Eddie again, and these are basically little tabs along the side. This is where I could change his contact information. I could go ahead and edit his search. I could inactivate him if he's now purchased. I could set up that agent preview I told you about. So a whole bunch of things that you can do in here. Could add in the spouse. But right down here at the bottom, there is message history. And this is going to show you what got sent out and the time and date that it got sent out. It's going to show you what he's doing in the Collab Center. So there is a message history. He can also, if you allow them, they can also do their own searches in the Collab Center using the maps. So there's a lot of cool things that they can do in the Collab Center too, giving it more that Zillow-like ways for them to search on their own. So again, message history right in the contact itself. Don't be afraid to set up the Collab Center for you. What I did is I always like to be the guinea pig first. I like to see what my clients are going to see in case they experience any hiccups. I want to know what those would be. So don't be afraid to go in, set up a search for yourself, assign it to you as the contact, and then see how it works so that you get those notifications and you can see exactly what your clients would be seeing. Okay, any other questions? Great question. Thank you, Nancy, for your questions. Any other questions? All right. Well, I would like to thank you so much again for joining us today. And I can't wait till we can come down and visit you guys again. And if you do have any other questions, you'll be sent an email with a place that you can submit those. But don't be afraid, again, to go to our YouTube channel where you can watch the pre-recorded class in case you need to see it again. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.